Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight's episode of Weekly Comic Book Movies with myself, ZodWriter, and Ashley the Widow. Hope everybody is doing well. Tonight's episode is going to be about the movie Howard the Duck. So Ashley, I I I, uh, I was thinking when we had talked about doing this movie last week, I was like, for a minute, for a while, I started scratching my head after I rewatched the movie. I was like, "Why now? Why did we want to talk about this one?"
I don't know. Yeah, I thought that after I was like, yeah,
um,
not so great, you
it was
know.
not a lot of people know, or maybe you do know, but if you don't read comic books, Howard the Duck's first appearance in Marvel Comics was from a comic book called Adventure into Fear, issue number
Mhm.
19, and this was in December of 1973. And later on, Howard the Duck in 1976 got his own comic book series in January of 1976, which was Howard the Duck #1. And then 10 years later, George Lucas and some other people thought it would be a good idea to make a live action version of Howard the Duck.
Yes.
And now here Ashley and I are in 2022 talking about it. So I I think this movie right off the bat, all I can say, one word I can use to sum up the movie as a whole is cute. It was cute. Um,
Okay.
but beyond but beyond that, it's hard to really say much, and we'll break it down. Well, how would you describe Howard the Duck in one word? What would you use to?
Hot mess.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good enough too. That's great. I say cute, you say hot mess, so that's cool. That
It's a
works.
cute hot mess, basically, because
Yeah,
Howard the
that
Duck
works.
is cute, but it's.
That's well, we've got Batdan530 in the chat. He says time for another great show. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for being here, supporting Ashley and myself. This is wonderful. I'm glad we're here doing this show. Geek Studios says hi, Zod. Just stopping by, saying hi, and leaving a like. Thank you for doing so. Appreciate it. He also says hi, Ashley. And
Hi, Geek Studios.
we have Robinson saying, Zod, what's up? Ashley, what's popping? And we've got Howard the
Tony,
Duck
Tony.
is what's popping tonight. So so I don't know if you would consider that popping, or you consider the popcorn dead. I don't know. But I guess that just depends on your perspective. And Geek Studios says here, Howard the Duck is my guilty pleasure. Now, I rewatched the movie because I happen to own the movie on Steelbook Blu-ray, and because I consider the movie to be a guilty pleasure of mine. Once in a while, I will, for whatever reason, and I don't really know what that reason is, I will be excited and want to pop this movie in and check it out. And when it was released on Blu-ray and like HD and all that, I think they did a good job with like the quality of like the how the transfer looks and how everything just kind of pops off the screen. Um, and I think if Howard the Duck were made today, if Marvel Comics were to redo it and make it now, it would be more popular because I think
Yeah.
now people are more are comic book movie oriented. It's the dominating force at the box office. It's what everybody wants to see. So
And
um
also because we've already been introduced to him in this new version of him in Guardians of the Galaxy. So if they made a movie now, with Seth Green voice in the character, I think that it would be popular as well.
yeah. hmm yeah, and when I look at the version of the movie that we got in 1986, part of me says that George Lucas, they were ahead of their time, because it was almost like they were thinking of the future and comic book movies and what they could become. And but the audience judging from the receipts for this movie, and the receipts don't lie. Judging from all this stuff that we have on this movie and on the character, that 1986 movie nearly killed the character.
Yeah.
Um, it sort of defiled what the iteration of the character was supposed to be, because what people may not realize is Howard the Duck was fully integrated into Marvel Comics at one time. I mean, he had interactions with Spider-Man, he had interactions with the Avengers. He was
She-Hulk.
They
kind of didn't get along at one time, and then they teamed up, and so it was
yeah. I don't think that Howard the Duck would be the most easiest character to get along with. He had a very interesting demeanor as a comic book character. A lot of times he would come off as like arrogant, but then he would also come off as like a bumbling fool.
Yeah.
And to me, it just didn't mix as a character. I'm just like, you're
But he was also hyper, and he's also he's hyper intelligent, so it's like all over the place.
Yeah, they could do. He was far more intelligent in the comic books, and he looks to be far more intelligent in how he was introduced in Guardians of the Galaxy versus how he is now in the movie that we're talking about. Because it's like they got rid of all of that. In the movie, he's just an average duck, because the world he comes from is just like ours, except ducks are like the humans of that world.
Yeah. And he's like a mild-mannered, just like average pseudo guy. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't rock the boat. He's slightly pathetic in a way. When we first meet him in the film, he's just like,
he's a has-been in the film.
Yeah, he's a has-been, sad character, pathetic, yeah. And then before he is set off onto this adventure.
Yeah, this really, really wonderful adventure that happens to him. that happens to him when he's at a point in his life where things just can't get any lower, can't get any more boring, can't get any less interesting. And if I was him, I would be happy that happened, to be honest, because the life that he was living before then is just like, now he's just waiting for the Undertaker, because he's got nothing good to live for. So when he ends up on 1986 Earth, for those who haven't seen the movie, spoilers. I just feel real funny saying that when we're talking about a movie
spoilers for Howard the Duck.
Spoilers for Howard the Duck, like it's No Way Home. Spoilers for
guys. I know you all are really excited to see this movie, so if you haven't seen it, I would turn it off right now.
Right, I would go watch it right away, and subject yourself to this cute hot mess that Ashley and I are talking about right now. Subject yourself to that, and then come back and watch us on the replay. It is interesting. I will say that I thought that the way that the character was depicted in the movie as just like a pathetic man, just in the form of a duck. I couldn't understand why they didn't give him any of the attributes really that he had in the comics. That's the thing I couldn't understand. I understand that this is 1986 and they're not really going for comic book accuracy. They were just going for something that was going to get people to go to the movies and think, oh, that looks cute, that looks interesting, we'll go
Yes.
see it. But
yes, that's what they did. And they also didn't make him a detective. Like when I
no,
like when he's a detective, you know?
yeah.
And it was just like, I don't know.
And Batman says, so if in Howard the Duck's world, ducks are humans, then are humans the ducks in his world? I don't think there are any humans in his
Humans
world.
there, yeah. There's no humans.
No, ducks are what we are, and we essentially don't exist. It's like ducks take the place of humans. It's
Yes.
almost like that TV show. I can like kind of tie it like that TV show. Remember this TV show Dinosaurs? Where they gave all the dinosaurs like human characteristics, and everything was the dinosaurs were essentially done as us, as like humans,
Yes.
kind of. But like I kind of look at this the same way, but then at the same time it's also even worse because it's more it just shows you how pathetic and sad some people's lives had to have been, because this
Yeah.
had to have been based on something, and it makes
And
me
then
wonder. Yeah.
and all the duck, puns, it's like that's all they do, like the comedy. And like I know the comic book is like it was a more of an adult comic book, but like
Yeah.
when you see like especially at that time, you know what I'm saying? I feel like with Guardians of the Galaxy, the way they introduced him, and then if they did a film, I mean, it would still be, PG-13 because of the MCU probably, but they made this movie, right, with Howard the Duck in it. And then you've got like ducks with boobs and like Playboy type like duck centerfolds magazine.
They were going
And
full
like,
on, yeah, they were going full on human for the ducks.
yeah, yeah. It's like, why would a duck have boobs though? With nipples.
It's unique. It was unique, the duck nipples. And you do see
Yeah.
duck nipples in this movie. It's
Yes.
really jarring.
Yes.
Well, I mean, what did you think? Did you find anything appealing about the ducks in the movie at all? Like, the way that they portrayed the female ducks with boobs and stuff? Was any of that appealing?
No, it wasn't appealing.
No, yeah. I mean, it wasn't like the Playboy magazines with the duck, the centerfolds that you pointed out.
The
That's
centerfold picture wasn't as jarring as the lady like sitting in her tub with her, her duck, breast.
her duck breasts that make no sense.
Yeah, that make no sense,
From an anatomical perspective, it really wasn't. But I mean, I know they were going for comedy. I know they were going. It was supposed to be funny. It had like this '80s humor that was all over it, and clearly.
But it was just really like duck puns. It wasn't even like classic '80s humor, in my opinion. Outside of like those like the puns, all over the place. It's like they didn't try. Like, yeah, they do the duck puns, but like I don't really feel like they tried to like take the humor anywhere else, really. A few things here and there, but it just seemed like it was just focused in all the puns, really,
Right.
in my opinion.
It was like, let's take out everything that is important about who this character is from the comic books and just make him an everyday slob, nobody has been loser. And we'll fill the movie with puns. We'll throw in a bunch of 80s tropes and things that are popular at the time. And we'll just make a movie, throw some music in there, and hope everybody likes it.
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Howard the Duck song is, the best thing about it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That we can agree on.
Yes.
I totally agree. It was very catchy, and it had a lot of remember the scene in the bar where Howard the Duck is in the bar and he gets into the fight, and he's just very, he's just very passive, and then he tries to find his inner duck strength
Yeah.
to fight back. And there's so many elements in there that I feel like the movie would have been, ironically, funnier if they would have kept some of the aspects and traits of the character from the comics rather than just the name Howard the Duck.
Yes. So I would
Uh,
have liked if they would have like, even though I know he ends up in Cleveland, like if he would have started in Florida, you know?
yeah, yeah. Why not?
I would, yeah, and then like show. I think if they would have done, I mean, but of course they wanted to do Beverly, which I always thought like in the comics that relationship doesn't bother me, but like on screen, it's just like it's so weird, this talking duck with this human girlfriend. It like I know he's like an alien, and you see like Peter Quill with Gamora, but like it's just like he's just like an alien, duck from a different world, and it's like weird. You know what I mean? I don't
Right,
know.
right. It makes me wonder if he's, how different his physiology is, as like you pointed out earlier about the female ducks with the boobs and the nipples and all that. And it's kind of just like I don't know necessarily if it would be a um, if it would be like a satisfying sexual relationship or not, based on what what we saw there. But the fact that she was attracted to him physically was kind of off-putting a little bit in this movie.
Yes.
um she just I think it was kind of like them being trying to put like a metaphor on the concept of, it's not what you look like on the outside, but it's who you are on the inside. And it's the fact that you have a good heart, and that you're this and this and this, and your intentions are good, blah blah blah. But essentially, to me, the physical chemistry didn't make any sense, and
No.
I think that was intentional by the filmmakers to
Yeah. It's
accentuate the ridiculousness. I don't know. I don't know.
absolutely ridiculous. You know.
I mean, I would say, okay, Ashley, put yourself in the position of the human female in this film. and,
Yeah.
and say Howard the Duck happens to come across you. What would your reaction to Howard the Duck be?
Just from like, and even the way they meet, like initially in the film,
Yeah,
like they're
yeah.
running into each other, and after he's like ran away from everybody, all of a sudden, like he starts, he breaks out his quack foo, and it's just he fights, and then she's like, oh, she's not even freaked out in the movie at all, right? From this encounter with this talking duck. And then she's like, you want to come to my house? Just like from jump.
Right. It's
It's
just an
just,
open invitation, you know.
I know. I would probably be like, oh, you're a duck and you can talk. Like me, I would probably freak out. Like, and be like, what's happening? Why is this duck walking around wearing clothes and talking to me right now? You know what I mean? Like,
So
without,
you would be freaked out.
yes,
Real world, real talk, you would be freaked
real
out if the duck came
world
up to you.
talking to duck, like completely freaked out. I'd be like, what's happening? And if it feels like, well, thanks for helping me here, but but I'm not gonna like be like, come to my house, Mr. Duck,
Yeah,
like
yes,
within
yes,
10 minutes of
yes.
meeting you.
Spend the night. We have plenty of time. I, I,
Yeah.
I found that whole relationship to be really, really bizarre. And again, it works in the comic books because the comic books give you context.
Yes.
And Howard the Duck is a much better, well written character in the comic books as opposed to what you get from the actual from the actual film. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
I
I feel
don't,
like they wanted to do something fun and different and cool. I get it, but like the execution of it was just all over the place. And it wasn't very good.
and Marcus Cruz
Yes.
says George Lucas produced this movie. Yes, he did. It was
Yes.
George Lucas's
And the
baby.
writers and the writers, you know, he even pulled the writers from Tomb Raider. No, I said not Tomb Raider. I mean, I can't think right now.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Thank you. I said yes.
I
Raiders of the Lost
I
Ark.
I feel like this was a movie where the intentions were good, but then I stop and think maybe it was just a passion project of George Lucas.
Yes. And I found out that they originally wanted to make it like an animated film.
Probably would have been a better move.
Yeah, and then but the studio pushed for this like big budget live action thing. So that's how it became this live action thing. And I think that if they did like an adult type of animated film, it would have came off differently. Maybe if they tweak some of the things in the story too, because it just seemed like the story was also all over the place, as well.
Right. And I think if they were gonna do Howard the Duck now, they would probably that would probably be maybe what they would do. You'd get some kind of animated thing.
Yes, and then like keep his like live action version to like little bitty cameos and little bitty moments like in Guardians of the Galaxy, like just show him drinking his like martinis,
I'm not gonna lie. I did like seeing him appear in a
Oh,
live
I
action
did too.
Marvel
I did
movie.
too. And
I
love
thought
Seth Green's
showing him
voice.
in there, showing him there was great because we have never had an authentic comic book version of this character on
His suit
screen.
was
So it's definitely nice to see.
his suit looked great. Like, like Seth Green, like the voice, him voicing it. Like to me in my mind, that's what like Howard the Duck would sound like. So yes, but I don't like in like a live action form. I don't think he needs a solo movie. Like him being in like other movies, like is great. But I think an animated show, movie, again, what Seth Green do, is the lead, as Howard the Duck would be a good movie that way. And then just keep him as like a side character in like the live action universe, I think anyway.
Yeah, that's definitely the best place for him as a side character. As this movie, and I don't even really consider this movie Howard the Duck to be um
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck. I feel like it's still a comic book movie because of because of the name and because of the character, obviously. But it's more. I would say that this would actually be a good case to give and put in the category of an in name only kind of comic book movie, because essentially none of the traits of the character are carried over to the film. And
Mhm.
I tried because I was looking trying to look at the movie, more from a comic book fan's perspective, like what we're doing on this show, and tried to see the movie. I tried to find things in the movie that I could connect at all to the comic book character outside of the name. And for the life of me, Ashley, I could not find one. What about you? I couldn't find one thing. Maybe you could say maybe the scene where with the doctor, like the fake scientist. I
Yeah.
don't know. I was trying really hard to find comic book elements, but I don't think.
The fact that he's in Cleveland, I guess that he goes to Cleveland because I mean he does eventually end up in Cleveland, but no,
Yeah,
yeah, and that's not really I mean that's just like putting him in the city that he ends up in. So no, I'm like really trying to search for things in the movie. It just seemed like it was like, um, let's make a movie like, oh, Howard the Duck is in a comics. Oh, let's just make a movie about a talking duck,
sure. And they could have called it anything.
Yeah.
But they knew that they had the name Howard the Duck, and they knew that they could try to cash in off of that. So in a lot of ways they're being disingenuous because the people that actually read the comic books at the time, all 15 of them were probably excited to go see Howard the Duck. And you know I would be it would be like taking Batman, for example, and taking away everything that makes Batman Batman, and just making Batman into like a Night Stalker. And
Yeah.
the only element that you get from him being Batman is that he wears all black in the movie.
Yes. And that he's
Everything else,
like,
everything else about the character is gone. There's no lore, there's no Bat Cave, there's no cowl. It's all just, but they use the name Batman for the movie to try and get the people that are fans of Batman to see it. So
yeah,
I don't know. I
because
don't know.
Bruce Wayne works at Kroger,
Yeah, right. Yeah. And
stocking vegetables.
yeah, and he's a cashier, and
Yeah.
he's
Yeah, it would
I
just
mean,
be ridiculous. Just like ridiculous.
I
You
don't
know,
even know if he would. I don't even know if he would be called. I don't even know if he'd be called Bruce Wayne. If we want to take it to the level that Howard the Duck did, he would just
I mean,
be
but he's still he still goes by Howard the Duck though. So
right, right. Yeah,
so yeah, it would be Bruce Wayne, runs the grocery store and he's a
and
mild-mannered man until one day he gets punched in the alley by some punks, and then he like,
some punks in clown makeup.
yes,
Yeah,
crazy.
like a Joker gang type of thing, and then he's that would be interesting. I think Marvel has more realistic heroes, while DC has more godlike and idealistic heroes.
That's
I'd say
true.
that's a
I agree.
very fair
I
assessment.
agree. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah.
I've always was like drawn to Marvel characters because even though they're very like they're enhanced and they're heroes, they're very like flawed and very like slightly real in some aspects, with those
Okay,
flaws.
we've got Joss in the chat, and Joss says, "Widow, do you believe in real love like Cap and Peggy have? Zod, do you believe in love like Diana and her man have?" That's an
Oh,
interesting question. Huh.
yes. I mean, I really do. I think that Cap and Peggy, have a great relationship. I'm more drawn to in the comics and even in the film, Vision and Wanda more, but that's just me. But yes.
As for Diana and you're talking about Diana and Steve Trevor, I think their relationship in the comics is far more interesting than what we see depicted in the films. Um, that's for sure. But as far as love in the context of Howard the Duck, that's another story altogether.
Yeah, like him and Beverly, a little strange.
Yeah, but she's not. But I think the point too in the movie was to show that she's not a typical, kind of woman where she just sort of she sees things differently. So when she sees Howard, she doesn't see him as just a talking duck. She sees that he's a deeply layered individual. She sees him as something else, and like I was saying earlier about seeing a person for what's on the inside, or seeing a creature for what's on the inside, rather than, okay, you're a duck. This would make absolutely no sense. Um, and again, I feel like my thing is, you have to have, in all of these movies, even if you suspend disbelief in a romance, you have to at least have some believability that the two characters you're trying to have fall in love, that it's realistic that they would fall in love.
Yes.
Like I really don't think that was the case in Howard the Duck. I just don't see how they would, with the exception of her just having the ability to see everything from a different perspective, and see everything from the outside or the inside of who Howard the Duck actually is. That's
Exactly.
really my only thing. I don't know. I'm really struggling with this movie in that regard. Like
Yeah,
I just don't think their relationship was feasible at all, and the audience isn't going to buy it either. Or maybe they did. I don't know. Back in the 80s, I don't think they did based on the reviews, but
no, I don't think anybody bought that relationship. I would have like, if even if they would have done, like, obviously they would have had to fix a lot of the other issues in the movie, but when it comes to Howard and Beverly, like, if it was just like he had feelings for her, maybe, kind of, and they were really close, and maybe had like this silly banter, like flirting banter back and forth, you know what I mean, instead of like this strange weird relationship, like they're fighting one moment, then he immediately forgives her, and then the next moment they're in the bed rolling around.
yeah,
What do you think?
it was a microcosm of how a real relationship can be at times. Um,
Yes.
but again, it still isn't realistic from from the standpoint of who he is versus who she is, which is why I kind of wish that there would have been another duck character, like one of those female ducks with boobs, transported
You just
transported
wanted
into
to
that.
see those
Tra-
duck boobs again.
I wanted to see those duck boobs again. I wanted to see a duck character. I wanted to see him with a duck character. That's
Yeah,
what I
his
wanted to
brother
see.
would have been
It made more
good, or like
sense.
his, or yeah, something. It's just,
But I mean, I'm talking about like the romantic
oh, the
relationship aspect.
romantic, the
Like
romantic,
like
yeah.
he like with her, okay, yeah, she's cool and all, but it doesn't make sense. That's never going to work out. That's not realistic. Let's give him something realistic in the context of who he is.
Yes, exactly. It's just like even if it was like another alien, from a different world that was like, a different creature, even, but just like this duck and this like human woman, it's just like slightly like weird. I'm sorry. It's like, girl, you like ducks. What's going on? You know?
And that's the other thing I struggled with. Did she really like the duck, or was it more just just who he is, not necessarily the
Yeah,
fact that
it's
he's
like
a
who
duck.
he is, but it's still like,
But he's still a duck.
but he's still a duck,
It's
though.
like
I
it's like
understand, like,
it's like if a
not
dog comes up
judging
to you and it's
people.
a dog and you think the dog is cute, and all of a sudden the dog starts talking to you and has human characteristics. That doesn't mean that you're gonna want to have a relationship with the dog.
No, I'm gonna be like, you're a cool dog. I'm gonna be freaked out at first. You know what I'm saying? I love dogs, even though my dog is acting up at the moment here off and on, which I'm sorry about. You know, I'm not gonna be like, okay, Mr. Dog, like, let's go out. Like, you wanna be my boyfriend? Like, I would be like, you're a cool dog. We'll be friends, but you know, and had that type of relationship with you. But I wouldn't be like, hey, you're I want to date you. It's just like awkward and weird. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest. That I think that's one of the biggest. Uh, that's one of the biggest pitfalls of the movie. That's one of the biggest things that takes you out of it, even though it's supposed to be funny. They don't really depict that relationship as trying to be funny. That's the thing that trips me out about the relationship. They try to make the relationship come off as somewhat realistic, and it's just like, and that to me is
Yeah,
where the movie kind of fails, because you're just like, okay, no, it's not a realistic relationship. Stop trying to do this. I don't,
yeah, they make it, yes. And I want to
stop.
like bat Dan. Can you highlight his last comment there?
Yes.
Um, so he says, either you guys watch Family Guy, do you dislike it when Brian was in human relationships? I'll let Zod answer first. Have you seen it?
Yeah, and um I pretty much have stopped seeing Brian as a dog at this point, because they've given him so many human characteristics that at this point he might as well just be another person.
For me,
Uh
I'm sorry, I thought you were. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. I guess that's really all I could say about it. I don't know.
With Brian, I think where it is animated, for me, and also because all of those relationships fail. Like he's never in a healthy relationship. He's always doing something to mess things up. So it's always these like unhealthy relationships as well. So they always like meet their their end. And also because it's animated, and I feel like they do a better job um with that than Howard the Duck does. So it doesn't bother me in Family Guy. And I think a
Yeah,
lot of it's because it's animated.
yeah. And it's a cartoon. So your mind isn't going there on the level that it's going on with Howard the Duck. Howard the
Yes.
Duck, you're meant to think that this is Howard the Duck in the real world.
Yes. And then in the end they have like a happy ending in the movie. You know what I mean? Like Brian never has like those happy endings with his relationships either, if you think about it. Like he had
No,
that
they make
one
the
long-term
relationships.
girlfriend and then that still ends.
They make those relationships fleeting for a reason, because he's a dog. He's a cartoon character. He's a dog, and it's not realistic at all. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's but they've given him enough relationships, which was my point, where I say, I just see him as just another person, because they've given him so many relationships in the show that it's just like, you see it's a cartoon character, but you kind of stop seeing him as a dog after a while, especially
Yes.
the way he talks and complains about everything.
Mm.
But um, I I will agree with you. The music, I thought the music in Howard the Duck was pretty groovy. Uh, the uh, some of the visual effects were kind of funny for the time. The
Yes.
whole concept of how he got transported to our Earth was
Yeah. I think that was I like for that time, and then even watching it now, I think it looks cool. Like the opening of the movie, except for the duck boobs, I kind of like the way that he goes through, the different dimensions to get to Earth. I think that I do like that in this space, and as he's doing it, especially for the time it was made. So that will be, I agree with you. That is a positive thing.
If they were to make it today, it would obviously be a much more comic book accurate movie. And there would be a lot more of who Howard the Duck actually is. I could see them making a movie now with Howard the Duck where they take him and put him in our real world. I just couldn't see them doing that again. But then maybe they might, just to say, well, this is how you would do that if you were really going to do it right.
Yes. I think him being in space though is good. Even though he's he's not, he's like, that's why I said, like, to see him like maybe come back and like be hanging out with the Guardians, or like, being in space, or something, like, to me, I feel like that works. I mean, if they bring him to Earth, especially now in the MCU, you've got so many different like characters now that have been established, and Thanos has came to Earth and snapped half the population away. So in this universe, if you have like Howard the Duck, who's a private eye, okay, at this point it kind of doesn't seem too strange. But I prefer if he would be in space though.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree. I don't think that the people of the MCU would be too shocked. There's been stranger things than talking ducks walking around drinking martinis.
Yes. I mean, we have Racket Raccoon, so I said Racket. I cannot talk today, Roy. I can't get my things right. Rocket. We have Rocket. Already. So to have him running around, I don't think it would be too strange.
Yeah, I don't think it would be. Now, if Howard the Duck were to appear in our real world where no superheroes exist, I think that would be a little bit different, though. Then
Absolutely.
You would have, the scene where you have Howard the Duck walk up to Ashley and say, hey, how are you doing? Or you got Howard the Duck wanting to, take you out for a martini. And then you essentially have a different kind of situation where it's where now it's you're going to be freaked out because there's nothing like this that exists in our in our real world. So,
yeah, I'll just act like I don't speak English and keep it moving.
Yeah, that could work. That
yes.
could work. But I think for this particular movie, I don't know. I don't really have too much more to say.
I don't either. It's just I will say it's a weird mess of a film, right? That's how I see it. Yeah. That's with a good song, that in the end, but still that's weird because like I mean, because but it's a good song,
Well, yeah, she's singing about her boyfriend, I guess.
Howard the Duck, her boyfriend.
Howard the Duck, her boyfriend. It could have just been. It could have just as easily been called Howard the Duck, my boyfriend.
Yes,
I mean the way that they spent so much time on that relationship.
Yeah, How I Met Your Boyfriend.
Yeah,
How I Met My
pretty much.
Boyfriend type
Yeah,
of thing. You know,
and it's
so How I
and
Met
it's
My Mother, but How I Met My Boyfriend.
and it's a duck. It's a
Yeah.
talking duck. Yeah. So so I guess we'll kind of wrap things up now. This movie was not comic book accurate, so we will not put it on a scale of being comic book accurate or being even considered uh, a, anything close to comic book reference for this particular show. Unfortunately, we have to put Howard the Duck. I think, well, in my opinion, I'm going to put Howard the Duck in the negative category as far as comic
Negative.
book movies go. It's negative.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. That we should not have picked.
I don't think it's a movie that again, I don't hate the movie. I enjoy watching the movie. I think the
Yes.
movie is funny and has a lot of little quirks and interesting things in it. But as far as being a comic book movie, I loved trying to watch this movie from, a comic book reader's perspective. This is what I was
Yes.
trying to do, and I found nothing. So that's what
Yes.
made this episode so remarkable for me, because I'm
And it,
looking at the movie like I can't find anything.
and then there's not enough depth to even like
No,
break down the film and discuss specific things because I feel like
not
yep.
even from a
Yep.
scene perspective. There's
No,
nothing
like
in
just
it that
nothing. There's
nothing.
no deeper meanings other than maybe with Beverly, like, don't judge a book by its character,
Right,
you
that's the
know?
message.
Yeah.
That's the message of the movie. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
basically all it is.
Yeah.
You're you're like, it's like that line in Batman Begins. It's not who I am on the outside, but it's who I am on the inside that defines me, or something like that. I don't know.
Ew.
It's
Yes.
kind of like that, but it's done in a way that's completely comedic. It's completely done for laughs, and you're
And it's not even funny, really. A
not
lot.
anymore, no, and you're not really invested in it from that way. So I would recommend it if you want to watch it just to laugh, and you want to see some stupid situations that make no sense whatsoever,
Yes.
for the absurdity of it and the fact that it was even made. I feel like it's a crime that a movie like this gets made and actually gets like a big release and is really, is out there for everybody to watch, but we still can't have a nice, pristine copy of Roger Corman's Fantastic Four. I
Yes.
I don't understand how one movie that's almost completely comic book accurate versus a movie that is not comic book accurate in any stretch is I just don't, for me, I don't know.
I just want to be like, George Lucas, what were you thinking?
I don't know. And part of me is thinking that George Lucas not only wanted this to be a hit, but I'm thinking the man had ideas for sequels.
Yeah, and but I think that his initial wanting to do something animated would have fared, like I said, a lot better, than this live action thing. And again, it's studios like, nope, that's not what I want. I want you to do it this way. And then they refigure things and they switch it up, and what they envision then becomes like something completely different, right? And
Right.
right.
And if it would have been popular enough, that's probably what we would have gotten. We would have gotten kind of like an animated, maybe we would have gotten like an animated TV series or something a few years later, like some kind of, because like back in now I would say like, if this would have been popular enough, maybe around the early 90s, maybe like 1989, maybe 1990, there would have been like some sort of animated TV show, or I don't know. There probably would have been more if this would have been well received. That's what I'm saying. I just don't think that I think because it flopped so hard and because it didn't do well by any stretch, that I can't believe that this movie, this wasn't a movie that like where George Lucas wanted to burn like every copy. I'm kind
Yeah,
of
like erase the minds of everybody. They need to like one of those neuralizers from Men in Black to erase everybody.
when you consider all the changes like that he's made to the original Star Wars movies over the years.
Yeah.
I mean he's that's what I'm not understanding. So like what is Howard the Duck is exempt from your
I think that he just was like, ain't no fixing it, and it just like went. I'm done.
Right. We'll never mention it again. We'll never mention it again. We'll never
Maybe
address
nobody
it
will
again.
realize this movie exists.
And you'll only hear about it when they finally do a comic book accurate version of the character later on in the future.
Yeah, and then like we kind of like when we first saw him in Guardians of the Galaxy, they kind of like, talked about, Howard the Duck being in the MCU, and kind of you heard, talk about the original film, and that's like the only time I've really heard it like mentioned, really, like in nerd culture and things like that, and like even like in articles, like when that happened.
I'm gonna say I would find it absolutely amazing if when Multiverse of Madness comes out, there's like a clip from Howard the Duck. Like this is actually made. This movie is actually made canon somehow.
Please don't make this canon.
In the Multiverse of Madness, could you imagine like a 15-second like little scene, like little clip from this movie? I'm just like,
no, please don't make this canon.
or you have a scene on screen with the two Howard the Ducks, the Howard the Duck from the 80s movie and the Howard the Duck from Guardians of the Galaxy.
I hope that does not happen. I would like, but the new Howard the Duck, being in Multiverse of Madness, I could do with that, and then like, see where he comes from, and maybe I don't think that would happen, his world. But yeah. Please don't make Howard the Duck. I hope it.
I just expect to see every Marvel movie, even what was that movie? That movie.
I don't think
the movie with David Hasselhoff, the Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I have not seen that movie.
Oh my God, I think it was directed. It was either written or directed by David Goyer, which is ironic. But
I've heard of it.
It is. I want a scene between David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury and Samuel L. Jackson. I just want to see that scene. Like, I don't know. Like Multiverse of Madness, I kind of have this feeling that every single Marvel comic book movie that has ever been made is going to be somehow referenced in this movie.
I mean, I like the, the Jessica Alba, like Fantastic Four, like make that canon, because the first one's I actually like the first one a lot, those movies. Blade, make that canon, but please, not Howard the Duck, not like that horrible like old Captain America movie.
Oh yeah, could you imagine? And then Spider-Man from the 70s and
don't make that canon.
The Japanese Spider-Man.
No.
Oh wow. I don't know. I'm just imagining them doing as like throwaway just pieces, just like little Easter eggs for people, little, I don't know. But overall though, no.
X-Men characters, yes.
Yeah, X-Men characters, sure. But but yeah, no. For Howard the Duck, yeah, no, it's a definite no on the
Yes.
comic book scale. It's a
Yeah,
definite no.
it's the only thing that is his name. He's Howard the Duck, you know.
And Batman 530 wants to request that we do the old Captain America movie next week.
Not next week.
No, not next
We
week.
can do it. We can do that.
We'll do it eventually. Which one? Which one? There's been a couple of really old Captain America movies. There's the one from the 1990s, and then I think there was one done. There were one or two done in the 70s, wasn't there? There's a couple of different ones. It's not
I
just
know the one from the 90s.
the one from the 90s. I know very, very well. In fact,
I know that one.
In fact, I interviewed the director, Albert Pune, a few years back,
you did? Wow.
and he talked about it. Not only did he talk about it, he sent me He sent me the director's cut of that movie.
Oh wow!
I'm just gonna put that out there. The director's cut of this Captain America movie exists. I don't for the life of me I don't know how, but there is a director's cut anyway. And I have seen it, and I'm not gonna say that it's miles better than what they actually released, but I'd say it's a little bit more interesting because there's some more like Red Skull scenes and things, but we'll talk about that movie at another time, because there's I'll have to see if I can find it, and then I can send it to Widow so she can watch it, because
yes,
the director's cut of 1990 Captain America.
Absolutely.
We are, but I think we'll go ahead and wrap up our discussion of Howard the Duck.
Yeah, because there's not much you can say.
Right. You get to a point where you just like totally run out of things to say, and then we start veering into talking about Multiverse of Madness and other things. So it's probably a good idea that we end the show right now, because we've got, we've covered just about everything we can. I would say, Ashley, that we have given this movie more depth than it really deserves. There really is.
Yeah, and there's really no depth. Like I was just like, all we really did was discuss the plot. Like, because there's no layers to it.
Yeah.
Like, really, outside of that, there's no like deeper meaning or like true depth to these characters, or anything that really like makes it have a deeper meaning, other than, hey, I'm a duck and I got a human girlfriend, and I had a pathetic life, and now I got a cool life.
Yeah, it's a rags to riches story. Okay.
Just like
we've kind of really touched on a lot of this stuff here. Forgotten masterpiece. Don't slander. Well, it's a masterpiece in the sense that
of trash
that it got made. That in and of it, the fact that it got made at all and it got released is a masterpiece in and of itself. Like, how the hell did this happen? But no, I think we've pretty much covered it all.
Yes.
And I don't know, have you given any thought to what you want to talk about next week?
I was thinking one of the Batman movies, maybe.
Okay.
Because I feel like, we did the Eternals, we did Howard the Duck. I feel like we're I would keep on talking about Marvel stuff all the time, obviously, but
we can cover,
but
we're gonna cover everything.
Yeah, so really so I feel like we need to maybe if you wanted to do a Batman, one of the Batman films next time, we could do that. Or we could wait till do Batman closer to when the Batman comes out. Actually, that might make
because that's coming out in March, so we can kind of wait. So I don't know. But there's so many Batman movies, though. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
there's so many. There's so
I mean,
many.
we
There's
could.
so
I mean,
many.
if we do Batman, we could end up doing Batman for the next 3 months because there's a lot of
Yeah,
Batman movies.
there's a lot of Batman movies. Lots of it, you know. You know.
And
They're
and the film elitist says you just explored the story of the last year of my life, widow. The plot to Howard the Duck. I got a badass girlfriend, and my life got cool, and I'm a duck. Wow. Okay.
That's amazing.
Congratulations. That is a great. That's like a great way to end the show. That's like the
Yeah,
best comment ever.
yeah.
But
A duck.
do you want to do? Okay, so if we do a Batman movie next week, let's see which one. Which one should we do though? There's so many. You want to do? I don't know. You want to do Batman and Robin? You want to keep
Oh
with the
God!
tradition of bad? You
Oh
want to keep with the
no!
tradition of
I
bad
don't want.
movies?
I don't want to do a bad one.
Um,
I can't. I can't do it. I mean, maybe eventually,
yeah.
but maybe you know what I'm gonna say. Batman Begins, or Batman, or the first Batman movie. You know.
Okay. Well, if you want, we can next week we can do Batman Begins, and
Okay.
I think that'd be cool. But then if we do Batman Begins next week, then we won't do a Batman movie the following week because we don't want to do Batman. But if you want to do Batman Begins next week, we can. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think that will work.
Okay.
Jericho Field says Watchmen.
And Watchmen is a great movie, and I think we should do Watchmen at some point. And you know,
Or Unbreakable.
Unbreakable. I was also thinking the 1990s. At some point we got to do the original 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
There's so many good ones though, and things that we're gonna cover. And then Bat Dan says I forgot about the 3 Nolan films. Yeah,
I can never forget about Nolan. You know. I love my Nolan.
And Jericho Pill says, widow, I still want your number. Okay. So what we'll do, I think what we'll do then, since you want to do Batman Begins, I think that'll work. We can do Batman Begins next week. And we can talk about that. That'll be a more well-rounded discussion, and that'll be a little more that'll cover a little bit more ground because we really haven't like this episode. I mean, there was really not much to say.
There was absolutely nothing to say. Bat Dan says, "Are you going to do Pattinson when it comes out?" Absolutely.
Of course we are. Of course we are. Listen,
like the week it comes out, we're going to talk about it.
Week it comes out, we're going to talk about it. And here's the thing. Here's the thing I want to point out to everybody.
Oh, Josh says do Iron Man.
Oh well, Josh, we will definitely do Iron Man. Definitely. Listen, there's a reason why Ashley and I are doing this show. We're going to talk about all these movies. It's not, I've gotten to the point, and I don't know if people realize this with my content, but I've gotten to a point where I don't really want to be doing panels week after week talking about the movie news and the same kind of stuff that 15 million other channels are already doing. So my idea for Weekly Comic Book Movies was when I approached Ashley and we talked about this and doing this, the whole idea for us doing this show was being comic book readers and being comic book fans and being able to talk about all of these movies from the perspective of comic book fans, agreeing and disagreeing. So ultimately, we're going to cover all these movies. So it's like, you may not see me on my channel doing a lot of talking about the Suicide Squad or the Batman or Batgirl or any of these other movies that are coming out. But because Ashley and I are doing this show together, You guys will get our opinions on these movies because we will talk about them, but
Yes.
I will only talk about these movies like this in this environment with Ashley because I only care about Ashley's perspective and my perspective when it comes to this stuff at this point. I've gotten to the point where I no longer have any interest in the other aspects of it because to me it gets to be too much. It gets to be too involving. It gets to be too, people get too emotional, they get too upset, they get too, and then it ends up getting me into trouble because then I get heated with people get heated with me, people get heated with my guests. So I've decided that the best way to approach
they get heated with me.
Yeah, they get heated with you, and they make it to where it's never fun. They make it to where it's not even fun to talk about the stuff anymore.
Yes.
So I know that I can have a conversation about Batman Begins with Ashley and have a good time. Whether I agree or disagree with her at that point is irrelevant because it's still going to be a fun conversation. Whereas when I go on a live stream and everybody's yelling at the top of their lungs to get their point across about how they feel about Batman Begins versus Man of Steel versus Iron Man. I mean, I'm at a point I don't care. I just want to get the thoughts out, logically and accurately and give people a chance to say what they want to say. And I found that the best way to do that is to pick a person that you really want to talk to about these things, stick with that, and go from there. So that's the whole purpose and the reason why this exists. And I will say that I'm very, very happy. I couldn't have picked a better person with Ashley. I think Ashley is awesome. And I think you're wonderful. And I'm glad to be here with you. So we'll most definitely cover all of these movies on the show. And we'll definitely cover Batman the week it comes out. There's no question. You will get that. So next week, will be Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins.
And tune in next week for a face reveal. Everybody knows what I look like, but I'm being silly.
Oh, we're gonna so we're gonna be on camera next week.
Yeah, I was gonna do today, and like I laid down when I was watching Howard the Duck again. Like I was, and then my hair is just like I'm not gonna turn my camera on. I'm one of those people, ladies. I'm not doing that. So that's why I didn't turn it on.
Okay. The next week, that's fine. I'm guided by you because I don't like to. With me, whenever I do a stream like that and I'm doing something with someone, I'll only get on cam if we're both going to be on cam.
Yes, and like on this, like on a lot of things, like when I do like the bigger streams, I'm probably still like, but this, like us doing this, I probably will, turn my camera on. And stuff. I'll turn it back. I'll turn it on. I just have to do it. And also, like, I've got to go like set my seat. Put my thing on. This is like, me doing it quick.
This is and that's what I love about this stream because it's just two people, two perspectives, and you either agree or you disagree. It doesn't matter. And when we're either on camera or we're not. Same difference. It's all going to be out there and it's all going to be honest. And I think that's fantastic. There's nothing to, and that's why I say I wanted to go for one of the most comfortable streams you could possibly have too. Like people are just, it's amazing, because we could go on and on about the kind of streams we were just talking about with people shouting over each other and constant obscenities and F this, F that, and all this stuff going through. And to me, that doesn't, those kinds of panels are difficult because everybody can't get their words in when everybody's doing that. And to me, that defeats the purpose.
I still do that, but I do like with Nerd Man, and because he just says
I know with Nerd Man, it's acceptable because I understand. Because with him, I get on with him, and I understand where everybody is. His streams are notorious for that, but that's what he
and that's what
likes.
That's the type of stream I would do too. And I've got to put a video up, but like even like when I'm doing stuff, like if I do anything like the stream, it's probably just going to be like a solo stream for me right now. Just like me talking about a topic, or whatever, or giving my thoughts on like something that I watched. Do that, run it down, and that's it.
Yeah,
So I understand.
Yeah, I mean, your streams are cool, and your streams are fire, and you teams, and don't get me wrong, I'm not throwing any shade at
No,
Nerdman because
I know.
I definitely enjoy his streams. I'm just saying that a lot of times it's hard to get your thoughts out.
Yeah, it is, but also but I think it's also like the people sometimes, because some people take it personal, and and sometimes like when I'm going back and forth with him, I'm not taking what he's saying personal. Like when we get in those, and he's not, because that's just not what we're doing. It's just our opinions on how we see it, and that's it.
Right, exactly.
And when you got groups of people that get offended, then it's just like, why are we doing this? So I
Like
understand.
if you really, yeah, like if we really want to make, next week's, stream about Batman Begins, super controversial, with a lot of angry voices, we'll invite the Jaded Fanboy to join us, and we'll have a really, really passionate,
my brain will
out of pocket
explode. My
discussion.
brain will literally pop out of my head, and yeah.
And we'll see that all on cam. So that'll happen next week. No, but we are gonna talk about Batman Begins next week. So just so everybody knows, and I'll probably put the notification out for that one shortly, so you guys will know. So definitely stay tuned. Keep listening, keep watching, like, subscribe, whatever. Definitely subscribe to the Widow if you haven't already. I want to get her up to 1,000 subscribers as quickly as possible. And this show is going to go on and on. There's so many movies. This is just the beginning, and we're starting off small.
And I do want to say this: I will have a review up by Sunday of the 355 and my thoughts on that film.
Awesome. All
so
right.
Look out for that for me.
Great. See you guys next time.